Hello, this module is on move and position the vehicle, and the learning objectives are prepare the vehicle for driving, move and position vehicle, and check up the vehicle. The purpose of preparing, moving, and checking the vehicle, okay, is to know the proper ways in preparing and moving the vehicle, and to provide scientific solution to answer the needs of vehicle users and service technician as well as students. So let's start with the elements to be prepared. So you have to prepare, of course. So first one is walk around the car, inspect for any damages in the lights and the tires or the body, and look for any obstacles from behind and in front and even under. Get inside the car and adjust the driver's seat to be able to reach all controls comfortably and easily. And then you adjust the mirror inside and out. Then you have to make sure to lock all the doors and then fasten seat belts and then turn the ignition key to the on position because this will open the electrical circuit. Okay, so that the dashboard gauges can be checked also. Then check the gauges and the warning lights. So is there enough fuel? Is the brake warning light on? Okay. Check the position of the controls. Manual transmission should be in neutral or park. So the parking should be set. Lights and other accessories should be off. Check the amount of play in the steering wheel to make sure that the steering wheel is working. So before starting the engine, press the accelerator to the floor, then release it all the way. So if the car is manual transmission, depress the clutch pedal, turn on the starter as soon as the engine is running smoothly. Then next, you have to check all gauges. Is the pressure normal? Is the water temperature should be low unless the engine is hot. But since you just open it, it is supposed to be not hot. Stop the service brake pedal, so press down until it feels solid. Release the parking brake. Then you have to check traffic in all direction. Then you have to put the car in gear, manual transmission with clutch depressed, shift to low gear or reversed, whichever is appropriate. For automatic transmission, shift to drive or to reverse. Depress a little against the brake. Signal your intention of you are leaving the space and pulling out in the traffic lane so that other motorists would be able to get the signal. Then check for traffic, look at your shoulder for oncoming traffic behind you, and do not depend on your mirror. Your mirror would be very helpful, but do not depend on it. Then begin moving slightly. Check the steering, turn so the wheels are in correct position, straight ahead, and turn the wheels so that the wheels are in correct position, straight ahead, and turned outward. All right. Now, what about if we are driving forward? So, shifting manual transmission. In here, you have to steer wheel play, the distance that the steering wheel can be turned without actually affecting the position of the front wheel. It should be minimal. Strive for the greatest possible economy movement, maintaining a straight course in traffic. For change in direction, and no matter how slight, requires more expenditure in gas and more strain on the working parts of the car. That's why it would be best if you continue the straight line, especially if the road is straight. Next, shifting manual transmission still, attempt to remain in the center of the lane as much as possible. Deviating from your position is only is only to be done when necessary. A skillful driver avoids unnecessary lane change, all right? And when it is necessary to change lanes, you check both mirrors for the traffic behind you, then glance toward the lane into which you will move. So if the way is clear, signal as if for a turn, then change lanes and cancel the turn signal. For braking, always strive for minimum smoothness in bringing the car because it's not good to do a jerky stop. It's uncomfortable. The minimum braking effort should be made when you begin to slow down well in advance to the point where you wish to stop. Okay, then number three, Panic stop occurs when the driver has driven himself into a dangerous situation. So, it can also happen. Do not rely on the brakes alone. So, the use of the accelerator and the brake pedal must be coordinated when steering and the use of the transmission. When backing up for correct position, turn around in the seat so that you see the back window with both eyes. So, if possible, rest your elbow on the back of the seat. In the steering, place your left hand on top of the steering wheel without removing your hand. Turn the wheel in the direction you wish to go. The front of the car will swing through a long arc than the gear, so glance forward often to be sure that the front fenders strike nothing. They are not going to bump with anything. Keep the speed low. Press the brake pedal slightly and smoothly. Speed braking and steering are more difficult to control while backing up than while going forward. So, what about when skidding? So, there are three kinds of skidding control, I should say. Of the automobile, we have the accelerator, we have the brakes, and then the wheel. So all three depend entirely upon traction and friction to do their work. So without friction between the tires and the road, a car cannot be controlled. Not all kinds are alike, however. The basic corrective measure for all kinds involves some combination of these three steps. So the first one is do not apply the brakes. So if the brakes are already applied, release them until control has been regained. Second one, do not accelerate. So if the car accelerating before the skid began, keep your foot on the accelerator and maintain the light steady pressure. This is one important exemption to the rule. Next, counter steer. So until the car has turned into its proper position on the road. During a skid, a car may slide sideways along the road. So counter steering is the only method to correct this problem of sliding sideways. Starting up on a hill, use the following procedure with manual transmission. So if the car has an automatic transmission and it is necessary to keep the car from rolling after completely stopping, use your left foot on the brake pedal and right foot on the accelerator. So while stopping on hill, do not let your clutch to the clutch point in order to keep the car from rolling backward. Use the brake to hold the car in place. Then, if necessary, heel and toe the brakes and accelerator. Hold down the brake pedal of the heel of the right foot and press on the accelerator with the toes, or vice versa, whichever is more comfortable for you. Then turning corners, okay, for left turns, you choose the correct lane well in advance of point where you will turn. Then signal the turn at least 200 feet before reaching the intersection. Check all traffic behind and ahead. Then send a notice the speed of the approaching traffic, I should say. Begin braking early, so check the mirrors to be sure cars behind you are slowing down. Then next is uh, left turns. Still, the slowest or the lowest speed could be reached before actually beginning the turn. So once you start to turn, accelerate just enough to allow the engine to pull the car through the maneuver. Then make the final check of the traffic behind you and on the street into which you are turning. Number seven, as the rear wheels clear the crosswalk or pass the edge of the curb, turn the steering wheel to the left, aiming into the correct lane. Then you also have to watch for pedestrian and crosswalks. As you enter the correct lane, straighten the steering wheel and accelerate to the cruising speed, shifting as necessary. If you're going to turn right, you just follow steps 1 to 6, except that you should be in the lane farthest to the right. Okay? Then, number 7, begin steering to the right as the front of the passenger compartment door passes the end of the curb or the crosswalk. So, do not swerve out into another lane. Complete the turn into correct lane, watching for pedestrian in both crosswalk and for traffic in the street in which you are turning. Okay, then next, turning around, You have to remember that turning around is the most hazardous in driving. That's why a U-turn in many cities is considered to be illegal. However, the following turnaround maneuvers are recommended for use only in rural roads where there is a little or no traffic. So, if in situations that you can do a U-turn and you need to do a U-turn, then you have to follow this. Move the far right side of the road. So, check for traffic, signal for left turn, complete the turn in a single motion, turning the steering wheel as far as the left as possible. Then you also have the 2-point left turnaround, or to make 2-point turnaround using the driveway or side road to the left, begin as making a normal left turn. Then stop on the driveway as soon as you completely left the main road. Check for coming cars. Back onto the road, then using only the nearest available lane shop, then you go forward. If you go the other side, 2-point right turn around, then make 2-point turn around using a driveway or side road to the right, signal for the right turn. Continue past the driveway and then stop. Check traffic again, then back into the driveway. Stop when you have completely cleared the road. Then check traffic in both directions. Signal for the left turn. Okay. What about a 3-point right turn around? So move to the far right side of the road, check your traffic, making sure that you have time and space to complete the turnaround. Signal for a left turn, turn the steering wheel as far as the left as possible, turn the steering wheel to the right and back up to the opposite edge of the pavement. Then check for traffic again. Go forward into the proper lane. This maneuver should be made only if there is very little traffic. Then for parking, there are different ways. We have the first one, the angle parking. So once you approach the parking space at low speed, check the traffic behind you. Then use the right turn signal. You should be about 5 feet away from the line of the parked cars. Then begin turning to the right when the front edge of the passenger reaches a point, even with the left rear fender of the car parked to the right of the empty space. Then clear frequently to be sure that your left front fender will clear to the car to the left and that the right rear fender will clear the right of the car. Then pull straight into the space and stop with the right front wheel touching the curb. Then set parking brake. And then when backing out, check traffic first, then put transmission in reverse. Then release the parking brake. Check traffic again and back out slowly. Then begin turning to the right when your right rear wheel passes the end of the car in the next space. Remember to check your left front fender for clearance. Then when you have completely cleared the parking space, turn the steering wheel to the left and go forward into the proper driving lane. What about proper parallel parking? So approach the parking space at low speed, use the tight turn signal, continue past the parking space until your right car is even with the car ahead of empty space and then stop. Then check traffic again, begin backing slowly as soon as the right wheel is even with the end of the car on the right. Begin turning the steering wheel to the right, then turn the wheel rapidly as far as it will go. Then straighten the wheel when you are moving backward at roughly 45-degree angle to the parking space. As soon as your right wheel passes the end of the car to your right, begin turning your steering wheel rapidly to the left. In effect, aim your left rear fender at the left headlight of the car behind you. Stop, turn the steering wheel to the right, and go forward until your car is centered in the parking space. Then, continue backing until you are almost touching the bumper of the car behind you. Stop, turn the steering wheel to the right, and go forward until your car is centered in the parking space. When you are leaving the parking space, check traffic first, then release the parking brake, then back up as far as possible, turning the steering wheel to the right. Stop without touching the car behind you. Check traffic again and signal for a little turn, then turn the steering wheel as far as the left as possible and go forward the proper lane. And park in a usual manner, except that your front wheel should be turned sharply toward the curb. So when you stop the car, let it roll against the curb, then set the parking space. If there is a curb, pull into the traffic space in the usual way. After pulling forward and stopping, turn the wheel sharply away from the curb. Then let the car roll back slightly until the wheel rests against the curb. Set the parking brake. When you are ready to leave the parking space, you will have to pull forward slightly before turning the wheel and backing. If there's no curb, pull into the space in the usual way. After pulling forward and stopping, turn the front wheel sharply toward the end of the pavement. Be sure that the parking brake is properly set and then the car is left in low gear if it is manual or park if it is automatic. If some reason the car should begin rolling backward, it will off the street rather than into the path of the oncoming cars. Then, if you're leaving the car, always make your car secured. But of course, before that, you have to put the transmission in low gear for manual and in park for automatic. Then set the parking brake. Keep your foot on the service brake fluid until the parking brake is set. Then turn off the lights, radio, or all other switches. Then quickly check all gauges. Then turn off the engine, remove the ignition key, then make sure to lock the doors. Of course, defensive driving is also very important. And from our source, Stone, he says that defensive driving is nothing more than a set of attitudes applied to specific driving conditions. So the basic principle is to avoid danger as much as possible. Okay. So he tried to sum up his discussion with the following. First, assume all other drivers are incompetent. Then, minimize risk if you cannot avoid them. Always drive as if your life depended on it. Plan a route to be sure you know where you are going. Yield to Main Street, always alert for possible danger and ready to yield the right way. Of course, you always have to be decisive. You have to keep your distance. Then, you have to choose your lane while you are moving into the traffic so that you will avoid hopping from one lane to another. Well, if there's really a need, then you have to, but it should be at a minimal. But you have to select the proper lane in advance in the turn you make to plan to make, and signal your lane changes and cancel after entering the new lane. In approaching intersections, be alert for the drivers who fail to signal their attention. So where to stop? Stop for the painted stop lane and behind or near the crosswalk. If neither of these marking exist, stop at the stop sign. Then crossing the street, have stopped, stay alert for your first clear opportunity to cross the street easily. Then stay out of the way, keep out of the driver's way. Is not only a matter of courtesy, it prevents unnecessary congestion and collision. Matuto lang magpabigay. Then observe the signals. If you do, you are justifying what the traffic signals were installed for. Still on defensive driving, adjust for road conditions. So adjust your lighting, adjust your speed, adjust your limitation of the vehicle, then adjust your physical condition. The provision of the Republic Act number 4136 includes these persons who are qualified to apply for a driver's license. So first, they should be physically and mentally fit to drive. So if they have diseases like epilepsy or mental problems, then they are not allowed to be given driver's license. They should be qualified to take the written and practical examinations to show their ability to operate a vehicle, not to show their intelligence. Next, at least 18 years of age, well, that's the legal age in the Philippines, and then can read and write para mabasa niya yung mga nakasulat sa daan, yung mga signs sa daan. Then, you always have to check your vehicle, okay? It's better safe than sorry. And when checking your vehicle, there are two ways of using, whether you use the floor jack or the safety stand. Okay? Warning here, if you are lifting only one wheel of the vehicle, be careful not to lift it so high that it may slip the jack saddle. Okay, never place blocks of woods instead of the jack or the safety stand. Lalo na pag bricks yan o kaya bricks, then pwede siyang mag-crumble, then kawawa kang nandun sa silong niya. Then check the safety stands before using. The saddle should not be cracked or spread. It should be clean. It should be in good condition. The stand is stable on the floor. And then the adjuster operates properly, locks in position, and is capable of supporting the weight. So I have here a picture with me of the jack and the stand. So here, we have here a vehicle supported by safety stands here below. And then the first one is a man working under a jack there. So we have to keep our jacks and safety stands ready and usable and at a good condition at all times. So we have here also here a warning: do not use a jack unless it is in good condition and of good quality. And do not exceed the safe working load, only the recommended hydraulic fluid to top up or fill the hydraulic jack. Do not use brake fluid. Then do not go under any hoist until the safety device or leg is engaged. Then never raise or lower a vehicle while someone is under or in it. Be very careful, and thank you very much. And that's all. I'll see you in the next video.